Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I'm your host, the One Take Man. Today's video, as its title may have already given away, sees me scripting a pilot for my reboot of Charmed. You know, the reboot that I've been making a variety of casting choices for in the previous videos. The basic idea behind it is that, unlike the original Charmed series, as well as the reboot, which relied more on folk magic in order to build its magic system, I instead am relying more on mythology, or specifically Greek mythology. At least within the first seasons, early seasons, to construct the magic system of my proposal for a Charmed reboot. And it's safe to say that I've dedicated plenty of thought to how this series would work, and also who the various characters involved would actually be. And coincidentally, I also came up with a way to bring all of it together and set the and I think it's safe to say set the first steps in motion towards this future series. And that step is the Charmed pilot that I have that I will be illustrating that I'll be demonstrating with illustrations throughout this video. Keep in mind that I'll be using reference images throughout. Reference images that I explain in previous videos, so check those out if you want the full context. Anyway, that's enough of a disclaimer. It's time we dig into the actual pilot itself. And I think it would be an interesting start to just kind of have to open up on the city of San Francisco, where most of it would take place, and just kind of have like a sweeping panorama shot, one that would eventually close in on UC San Francisco, where I imagine the where I imagine the show properly would open up with the eldest sister of this new Charm series presenting her PhD dissertation, because in this iteration I imagine her being a PhD, and I imagine that PhD being in some way related to myth. And I think the best or most appropriate choice for that would be to have her PhD be about parallels between Greek mythology and other mythological or polytheistic representational faith systems. And once we don't catch the entire dissertation, just something towards the tail end. And then once she is done with that, once she steps off the podium, once she's congratulated by all the by her I don't know, her guide, her academic mentor, and from her peers, from various other staff members, she'll get greeted by her younger, not youngest, who and the two go out to celebrate with I don't know, a few drinks, a meal maybe, something like that, and they get into a little discussion. Also, it is somewhat this outfit here is somewhat appropriate, because I do imagine this middle sister, I don't know what happened with that, the middle sister dressing all in black, because she would still be mourning for her for a dead husband. Because even though she's not the oldest, I imagine she would have married quite young, and she would have married quite young, and she would be a widow at the beginning of the series. Not a fresh widow; she's been widowed for a while, but she's still wearing black, and she's starting to notice that under the California sun, it's not particularly nice to, or it's not particularly pleasant to wear black. So she decides to take off a layer, revealing a cross. Because yeah, she's a Christian, more precisely an Orthodox Christian, Greek Orthodox. I think I already covered that. And yeah, I do imagine these sisters being Greek, even though even though the show takes place in San Francisco. That's kind of my thing. Maybe even the place where they go out is as a Greek venue, Greek establishment. But the important thing is that the cross is revealed, and the older sister sees the cross and goes, "Oh, you're really still following the church." Okay, and this is where we get a little bit of a tete-a-tete, which reveals that the older sister is, surprise surprise, an atheist, but not just an atheist. She is anti-clerical, as in she thinks that organized religion shouldn't be a thing. That's kind of her thing in general, because she is a post scarcity anarchist. And I imagine they would have something a little bit of a discussion based on that, and based on the administrative power that the church has, and the support that the middle sister is showing towards that clerical establishment, even if tacitly, by wearing the cross. At some point during the discussion, I imagine the middle sister will say, "Well, at least you're not hounding me about my job this time," because yeah, her job is also one factor that would put her at odds with the older sister. Because I imagine her being a realtor, and I imagine the older sister as and I pretty much think that the older sister would be opposed to home ownership. Okay, I should be really careful with how I say it. It's not home ownership in principle, but home transaction. That is something that she would oppose. She would be, she's more of, I think she would follow more the decommercialization of homes, because if it's something you need to live, that's something shouldn't be made scarce. As I said, post scarcity. And she's post scarcity. They might, the two sisters might have a discussion on that. But the point of this discussion is that their meeting isn't just a catching up family gathering. She is also telling her oldest sister about this house in San Francisco that used to belong to one of their used to belong to a great uncles of theirs who settled in San Francisco after the end of the Second World War. That house was built. He used to live in South Toledo. This will be important moving in a short while, so keep that in mind. And then he moved to this, and then while he lived there, he decided to build. He and his partner, and his partner, as the middle sister would say, decided to build this house, to build a house somewhere else. The older sister will correct her in saying that wasn't his partner, that was his boyfriend, because she'll be able to figure out that said great uncle who settled in San Francisco was gay, and settled in San Francisco because his family rejected him, didn't want his gayness around them, and so he settled in San Francisco. The house was sold to someone else once once he passed away, and that someone else who went on to own the house, also I think passed away or abandoned it, and therefore rights to the house reverted to their family. And therefore she is saying that and therefore the middle sister tells the older sister that they can go there and make it a home for themselves. The older sister agrees because now that her PhD is done, her grant's about to run out, and she needs to find a new place to stay. So she'll take that. The middle sister might come up with some kind of barb arm saying, "Oh, it's not so bad to be a realtor now, is it? You're and then it's not so bad for me to be a realtor now, is it?" To which the elder sister would come up with some kind of retort. I'm not gonna get into that. I'm not gonna get into that right now. And as they settle to do so, the youngest sister pops in, and pops in. We also get a little bit of banter between all three of them, but not too much because because the elder sisters decide to all collectively decide that they've settled what it is that they had to settle, so they decide to go on to the house, and of course that house is the Halliwell Manor. In case you're wondering why it's called the Halliwell Manor when it was built by when it was built or commissioned by a Greek man, well, it wasn't just built or commissioned by a Greek man. It was also built and commissioned by his boyfriend as well. And I think if his boyfriend is British, I think it would make sense for it to carry a British name, given it's also built in Victorian style. So they come in, they see what it looks like, and they also explore the upstairs area where they find something akin to a temple. And I imagine the youngest sister will potentially fool around within that temple in some way and thereby summon Hecate. And then Hecate would come up, would appear, introduce herself, and say that the sisters have been chosen to become her heralds, or that she has chosen her to become their heralds. They would be they could potentially be quite skeptical, and in fact I do imagine the middle sister maybe pulling up her cross and aiming it, literally aiming it at Hecate. To which Hecate would look at that a little bit bemusedly, scoff, and move on and discuss what being her heralds would actually entail. Still, the sisters are somewhat skeptical, so they do not give any kind of answer, at least not right away. To which he says, "Well, it's fine. I can wait. It is better. It is after all better off. I am actually better off if you, if you agree willingly. So, I'll give you some time. Enjoy." And then she disappears, leaving the three sisters to banter a little bit about what exactly it is that they've seen and how it is that they should and how exactly it is that they should respond. And I imagine the older and middle sister very much getting into it, and the younger sister being the actually being the voice of reason and telling them, "Okay, we've seen enough. We're all a little bit on edge now. Let's step away from that edge." And they all decide to do so, with the eldest sister deciding to go to her former home in order to get her stuff and get settled. And then I imagine the let's see what's good. Okay. And after that, I would imagine perhaps the middle and the younger sister talking it out, trying to figure out what exactly what exactly it is that they've been seeing, as well as catching up. I imagine this could be a moment where the middle sister actually has a little bit of a crisis of faith, as she is, as she could be clutching her cross and trying to think of, okay, what's really going on here, and she doesn't know, and the younger sister advises her to just go with the flow because it might be worth it. And she might even hook on. She might even hook on to something that Hecate herself says, and say that you don't know what there might what else might be out there. This is our first good clue. Mm. She would potentially still be a little bit and the middle sister could still potentially be a little bit skeptical, but decide not to press the issue. And with these sisters as spread apart, and with these sisters as spread apart as they are, we now cut to the villain of the piece, and yeah, the villain of the piece is a San Francisco police officer. And said police officer is showcased, with his unit clearing out a homeless encampment. And by clearing out, I mean he is violently chasing them away, and very much bashing down anyone who doesn't immediately comply. Because yeah, a lot of people like to describe California as a liberal hellscape. However, liberal in this case having the meaning of queer and communist, which it very much isn't. It is everything that makes California a hellscape is very much derived from the fact that it is not that. That it is that there are conservative capitalist elements within it, and that is mirrored among other things through the fact that through the fact that homeless people, rather than being homed, are being violently cleared away. Conservatives see that and say that that's a good thing, that that public order is restored, even though it goes against their their typical narrative of the state overexerting itself. Because that's very much what the police is. It's an agency of the state. It's entrusted with doing law enforcement, which is, if you'll recall, one of the three branches of government. As they are going through the clearing, the villain of the piece, who I imagine would be the leader of this unit, spots one particular homeless woman and decides to pick her up, because she is a witness to a trial, and and brings her into his car, saying that he'll get her to the station for questioning. However, he doesn't take her to the station for questioning. Rather, he takes her to his own home, where he presents her as an offering at his own shrine. And once he is there, he summons the god he is a herald of, Ares, the god of war. And Ares says, "Yes, you have done well. I am impressed with your offering. I'm impressed with your diligence in terms of offerings. I'm afraid, however, that I can no longer bestow you the gifts that I have up until now, because the tides have shifted, new heralds have awakened, and it is up to you to make sure that they do not cause any changes," etc., etc. He has this full villain monologue, and he basically tells his herald that he has to go after the sisters, go after the series leads. And yeah, that's basically me setting the stage. You have the leads at their various points in their life, all coming together within this context, and you have a villain who is out to get them for his own motivation, with his own methods. It's a pretty simple thing, and I imagine the same conservatives that I've bashed a little earlier will say that would say that this is me being woke or whatever. To which I say, do you know what show you're watching? Do you know what show we are talking about? Like, of course it is woke. That's the whole freaking point of it. So yeah, I think so. Yeah, this is basically how it. This is basically how it's gonna. And this is the. And this is the. These are the basic building blocks of the story. You have your good guys. You have your bad guy. Let's see. Let's see them go at it. Okay, this is where actually that previously mentioned discussion between the middle and the youngest sister takes place. And so yeah, even though I mentioned it before the introduction of the villain, it should actually take place after that. And the villain then gets to show up again at the uh, elder sister's former apartment, or rather still current apartment, where she's shown packing her bags, and she and yeah, anyway, he arrives, knocks on the door. She opens it somewhat. She opens I'll say two of the locks that she has on her door, but she still has like that little chain, door chain. I don't know how many people still have it, but it's a thing, and I imagine she would still, she would have it, and she would open the door just a little to, just a little, see that there's a police officer on the other side, and immediately go a little bit skeptical because anarchist, and she would be like, uh, the and the bad guy would try to be at least at least initially polite in in his interactions with her. But she is very much having none of it. She is saying she'll ask to to show her his badge. She'll ask for details on why he is there, on what that has to do with her, etc. etc. And the police officer might, and the bad guy might say, might give his answers, or he might evade the question on various occasions, saying something like that is beyond, that is confidential, that is not something I can, that is not something I know. I've been ordered to do this. I am simply complying with the law, or with the orders of my superiors. To which and to all of that, I think she would conclude the story by saying, "Come back with a warrant," and then close the door, and close the door behind him, or in his face. However, our guy will not take no for an answer, especially not from a woman. And so she is put on the offensive and gets to, attack him. I imagine he would try to break the door. He would break the locks, but he wouldn't be able to break the chain, and it would be that. However, he would still try to put his hand through the door, which would prompt her to pick up a hammer that she would have somewhere around the door, and hit him in the hand, force him to back away. Then she would pick up, something, some kind of emergency bag with her, and try to use the fire escape. At which point, and also alert her sisters that she is being, that she's being chased. And once she does so, however, once she is at the fire escape, the police officer actually manages to break through, follows her, and we have a chase scene, ensuing. That would see not just the eldest sister, but all, all sisters banding together in order to better figure out how to deal with the threat that has been that they are pitted against. And the rest of the episode would pretty broadly be a chase sequence where the sisters try to get into various and try to get into various locations in order to lose their pursuer, only to find out that he is not as easy to lose, and in fact he is outright superhuman. And throughout those chases, they would still banter, they would still exchange impressions, and they would discuss their situations, discuss the best thing to do, what the best thing to do would be, And I pretty much and I do actually imagine some the sisters actually taking the lead over this over their little trio on various occasions, and guiding them and guiding the action through a variety of locations that would be familiar to them. So the youngest sister would go to uh, something like a gym, a climbing club, a climbing club, or various kinds of sporting associations, etc. The middle sister could take her through, could take her sisters through some empty houses. Um, the oldest sister could take them around campus, maybe even including in some dangerous or restricted areas, hoping that whatever they run against will actually splash over into the police officer's face. However, it doesn't work. So in the last ditch effort, they decide to go back to the Hallowell Manor and pledge themselves to Hecate. And in the nick of time, they conclude the ritual, necessary to become Hecate's heralds, and receive their new powers. What are their new powers? Well, let's go through the sisters one by one. With the eldest sister, given that she was the first one of their family to kind of move away from it, I imagine her being someone who sees new options, new possibilities where other people don't, and as such, she will have that particular attribute of Hecate assigned to her, that of being how Hecate is the goddess of the crossroads. She would also have the power of crossroads, of pathways, or generally of finding ways out of situations. That that would include stuff like portal creation, teleportation, maybe, and and maybe even some powers over gateways in general, so she can move in and out of a variety of different situations. When it comes to the middle sister, I've already described it. I kind of see her more as a homebody, or have the most tradwife energy of the trio. And coincidentally, Hecate is in fact one of the been traditionally seen as one of the goddesses or gods more broadly, that are protectors of the home. However, with her I want to take a somewhat broader direction, because given her background as an Orthodox Christian, a background that she still sticks to, uh, up until she still sticks up to up until she uh, up until the beginning of the series. I imagine her being given powers over black and white, because in some way Hecate is a liminal goddess, and therefore I imagine she would have that same liminality over points of view, and therefore she would be given power basically over light, meaning that she can create bursts of light of different colors, sizes, strengths, etc., but also take away light and create shrouds of shadow, stuff like that. Because that would be her real ability. That would be her ability, and there are various alterations possible from that point forward. And last but not least, the middle sister, the youngest sister. I have to confess, when it comes to the youngest sister, I am most drawing up blanks, so I have to resort to the goddesses or to the other goddesses that Hecate is associated with, and there is a surprising degree of connection between her and Diana. Funnily enough, the Roman goddess of the hunt, who is actually who's actually Artemis's equivalent. So I imagine her having some abilities, some abilities covering the, covering what would make her a good hunter. So enhanced senses, and enhanced physical abilities. That also fits quite well with Hecate being somewhat of a chthonic or underworld deity, and therefore she kind of is always on that edge between living and non-living, and and therefore the youngest sister could also receive that edge to some extent of being on the uh, on the highest end of living, but always in danger of crossing over to the other side. Extensions could be seen to where she maybe has like necromancy, communing with spirits, and stuff like that. But really, that's something to cover in. That's really something to cover in future seasons. For now, these are the baseline powers that that the sisters have. And once they get their powers, they manage to turn around on the cop and defeat him. Whether he dies or is just or is still left alive is not really something I've is not really something I've considered, but I don't really think it matters too much in the moment. The point is that they win, and and through their victory, they have become the heralds of Hecate, and will carry out her orders, whenever they come up in the future, thereby setting the rest of the series in motion. And I imagine that Ares and Hecate would actually have a conversation about the interactions their heralds had, and Ares would very much be a little bit, would very much be sour about it, about how about his herald, his his warrior, the one who embodied that, the one who really embodied that bloodlust, was defeated, and Hecate would be like, yeah, whatever, happens. And I imagine Ares himself could potentially use that opportunity to remind her that by appointing heralds, she has changed the balance of powers at the setting, and leaving her with a warning of, is she really prepared for what is about to happen next? And that's something to consider moving forward. We end the beyond this discussion. There is more aftermath at the manor itself, the Halwell Manor, with with the sisters figuring out what to do with each rooms, with each of the rooms, who will get to live where, and uh, and what to do with each room, how to most effectively, and also potentially set in motion plans for their own futures, uh, beyond beyond their dealings with beyond the dealings with deities. And I think the episode should end with the older sister clearing out her office, because given she has concluded her PhD, she is no longer involved in a research position at the UC San Francisco, so she has no reason to keep that office. I do, however, imagine her her academic mentor, or potentially the dean of that particular faculty, coming in and presenting her with a new a job offer. somewhere where she would be working as the university archivist, potentially in a part-time position. So she has enough, so she's able to live. And so she's able to live somewhat steadily, but still has the options. But still has the option to she can live somewhat steadily, but still has the freedom to go on, various adventures throughout the, throughout the rest of the series. Of course, that is not something he intends. That is simply an option that he is able to, that he presents to her. She's a little bit skeptical about. She's a little bit skeptical about that at first, but then, once she studies the option presented to her, she decides that yeah, okay, it's worth it. And maybe as she does so when she leaves her office, I imagine her tripping and meeting with the with her future boss, the lead archivist at the university, and I think they would immediately hit it off as friends, or potentially a little bit more. Who knows? And if you'll recall anything about the previous two videos, then you'll know, then you'll know exactly what the significance of this meeting will actually be. And yeah, this is, in very broad terms, how I would define, how I would script the Charmed pilot. Assuming you've watched until now, then I would like to thank you for your attention. If you've enjoyed it, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to my concept so far or to how I've put the pilot together, that is what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk about the print medium and selected works therein, so if that sounds interesting to you, then I suggest you go ahead and check it out. If, however, you find yourself more interested in my thoughts on topics outside of the print medium, well then I suggest you stay on this channel and go through my extensive backlog of how I would videos, and also various reviews, retrospectives, commentaries, gameplay, really whatever I think of. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and check it out. Or if print medium or if my discussions on the print medium or if my discussions about the print medium and books sound like it could be more of interest to you, you can go ahead and check those out as well. If none of that really resonates with you, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever else you want to do with the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. And yeah, that was it for me. So until next time, I have been the One Take Man.